So now let's cover a hook punch, or almost like a ridge hand punch, except with a huge difference. He has a knife. So the first thing I want to do is just like, just true to the Krav Maga 360 block, it's going to be coming in a circular fashion, and we're just going to imagine that he's trying to stab me directly in the neck right there. Now, we know that if I use a good bursting 360 block, I should be able to block, stop his forward progress, and get away. So in a perfect world, I would either block there, or I'm going to go 2-on-1 and then just get out of there. Okay? But we're just assuming that I absolutely must deal with this thing and see it all the way through to the disarm. So that's what we're going to be covering. So when I do this, it's important to remember we have to train with realistic angles. One of the most common mistakes people make is they're too nice to their partner. So he's like going to try to hit me with his arm or something where I don't really have to change my angle. It's just super easy to block it. If he's actually aiming, let's watch what his angle looks like. Okay, that's great. So if I'm blocking like this, go ahead. He's going to power right through there. Right? So it's important that I move forward and that I turn. So I'm not just blocking straight out. I'm turning, moving forward, and jamming it. That way my body is directly behind both of my blocks here. I'm using my ulna bones. My one closest to his center line is going to be blocking right in the middle of the bicep. My other one closest to the knife is going to be blocking right in between the crook of the elbow and the wrist. So that placement looks like this. Moving in, turning, and jamming. Now, we're not doing this too hard. If you do it even just a little bit harder than that, it can really deaden the arm. So that's an effect that we're really looking for. So I move in, twist, jam. From there, I immediately want to take my hand closest to the knife and just simply grab. I'm just C-clamping his wrist. And now I need to assume that while I may have deadened his arm, it might be tingling or numb or in pain, he's still in the fight though. He can still wrap up, he can still do something. So I've got to really, really go quickly towards my combatives. I like to block and then go straight for a chop with my ulna right to the neck here, but I can also do elbows, I can elbow forward. There's lots of different combatives that are available to me because I have his live side here. So we're just going to assume that we're going to go 1, grab, 2, grab, 3. And now I'm going to continue dealing with the knife. The hand that I just chopped at his neck with and grabbed his neck for my groin kick, I'm just simply going to reach around his arm. So I'm going to put my armpit on his shoulder. Now I'm going to reach back with my thumb pointing back towards myself and wrap around his arm. Now it's important, if it's a big guy like this, sometimes it can be difficult to bend the arm. So if I go straight around his arm and grab my own wrist, sometimes I go to turn back towards him and his arm isn't moving. His arm's too long. So I need to be sure that I bend his arm first. So how I achieve that is I take my thumb, kind of like my ridge hand surface, I wrap around right in the crook of the elbow. If I hit that, that bends it. So I'm pointing the knife essentially towards him. Now that his arm is bent, I can grab my own wrist. So I've got a C-clamp on his wrist, and I have a monkey grab on my wrist. Now that I've achieved this effect, I'm going to bring the knife towards him. This arm that's grabbing my own wrist is my lever. My lever is going to go this way. As I'm grabbing, I'm going to keep rotating and use that lever, which causes a lot of pain in his shoulder. That's what forces him all the way down to the ground. Now it's important that I put one knee in. I'm jamming his hip line, keeping this hold. Now the hand that was grabbing his wrist, I can let go, cup the back of his hand, and bring this towards me. So I'm pulling on the back of his hand or pushing the back of his hand, and his elbow is anchored to me. So it has nowhere to go. This causes a lot of pain on the wrist, and it also inhibits his ability to grab that knife. He can't grab right now because I'm doing this. Now I can take the knife away and disengage. So let's break that down step by step. Step number 1, I have to move in and I have to turn. That's the angle of my blocks. I can't just block like this because it's going to power directly through there. Step 1, block. Notice I move forward. Again, 1 is here. Boom. Step 2, grab the wrist and hit. Or hit, whatever combative you want. I prefer chopping right to the neck. I can give him some more combatives. Step 3 would be reaching around with the hand that I was doing combatives with. Reaching around, be sure the arm is bent, then monkey grab your own wrist. Now I'm going to step forward and around as I use the lever here, cause a lot of pain in his shoulder, and bring him down. Jam his hip with my own knee. Now I can let go. Cup the back of his hand and really pull it towards me. Get that wrist lock effect. That stops him from being able to grab this knife. I can pull the knife away, disengage from there.